Tyler, don't do what you're doing.
Welcome
Instead,
to Roundabout Cast. Where are the nipples?
I found him, guys. Give me a sec.
we're recording, and we should get Tyler to talk about Worm.
I started Worm.
Hey,
Hey,
I've been talking about this Worm thing for a while now, and
It is Bradley's favorite thing ever, so I did my due diligence.
I just thought it was that bit from Dumb and Dumber where he's like, "I got worms."
oh no,
not-
that's it. That's definitely it. I don't know what
Yeah.
you've been listening to.
So I'm
It's-
doing, I'm doing the podcast, and then I thought this was a book series actually, but I found out it's a web series.
Yes.
So I wanted to be able to like read it some too, just because some of the audio is kind of bad through my phone and my car. So I'm like, I'm gonna read some of it as well, just to get it in my own head.
Mhm.
I've done the first 3 arcs in one weekend.
Jesus Christ, you're putting me to shame.
Yeah.
It took me like 4 months to get to this point. Bradley got really impatient at some point. He's like,
Yeah.
I really wish you would read more Worm.
Yeah. Tyler going full speed ahead though.
Bradley, I really wish you would finish the Chimera Ant arc.
You know
Oh,
what?
it comes out at last.
I can do that for my buddy.
You
But,
can read it.
So, let's see. I like the characters so far. Like the first arc, I was kind of like, and I haven't read books or anything like in the vague, like anywhere close to fiction in like 10 years. I think the only book I've read has been The Ultimate Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and then it's just been like boring adult reading of like programming and like design and crap.
You've been reading it.
Yeah, I just started like last month, so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna keep on this train. So this Worm series, we got the main character Taylor. I understand where people resonate with this character for a little bit. Very good. That's a very teenage drama or teenage novel character right there. So maybe 13-year-old me resonates with that, but also like my age currently year resonates with it a little bit as well, because I'm like, oh damn, she got superpowers. That's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that always resonates, right?
Go ahead.
Arc 1 is interesting. It's very much more youth fiction than the like adult fiction that the story eventually turns into, but I really do think it has that very humble and like, if I can shit on it a little bit, stereotypical first chapter.
This is interesting because while we've talked multiple hours about Worm on this podcast, me and Bradley never got to really talk about these first 10 arcs or so.
Yeah, we started talking about this on the podcast starting with arc 9.
Yeah. What Tyler, I do have a discussion question. The way that Taylor gets bullied, do you think it's realistic to how people get bullied? Like, do you think these? Because I remember thinking to myself, Emma and her tactics just feel a little bit out of touch. They feel a little old school and maybe too traditionally like pure evil bullying, and that always put me off in like the first arc.
So I don't know what year the book like this is set in actually. I haven't figured.
You're at it's 2011.
Okay, so I haven't really figured it out too much, but with the way that the girls kind of bully her, so this is like, I've only seen bullying like the first like I guess I don't know if anything's gonna happen too much more, but the bullying I get in the very first chapter of the first arc seems pretty like it, like that happens, like it doesn't happen to everybody. It's probably never happened to you. Maybe it has happened to you, but like it can happen where people like kind of harass you in the bathroom at those like bigger schools,
Yeah, I guess so.
Let's taking a shit. Let's throw wet paper towels.
Can't believe that was you.
The bullying she gets in the classroom makes kind of sense to me. Like that does happen.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
That does happen where people will like kind of like treat you like you're nothing, or you don't really exist, or you're kind of gross to be around. The relationship she has with Mr. Gladly and his character, I really understand the character of Mr. G, and who he is as a teacher, because my school had a lot of teachers like that. And it kind of makes me sad a little bit to see her side and what she's going through, because like I didn't bully anybody. I didn't advocate for that. Like, I went to a pretty small school where, like, if there was any bullying, like, kind of got heard about. Like, I think there was, like, one really, like, bad incident in, like, sophomore year that I'm not going to go into. But, like,
small enough that if something's going down, people probably know about it.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I grew up from a weird town, like, weird small town where bullying wasn't that big of a thing. But a lot of people still hated our school, which I'm like, okay, cool. But there were a lot of Mr. G's at my school.
Yeah, I think Gladly is definitely the most compelling part, I think, of Arc 1. Maybe in general. Maybe the Danny interlude as well.
Yeah, and the way he sees, like, the bullying happening and he doesn't do anything about it is like, makes sense. And the dynamic between Taylor and Emma, like, crap like that happens. And I haven't got to a part to understand Emma's motivation yet. But, like, Emma's character is not fake to me. Like, Emma's character is too real. Like, that happened to somebody. Like, that I think that one's well written, at least in the bully sense. But the other ones, like Sophia and Madison or whatever those characters are, they're a little bit superficial. But I definitely feel like Emma Taylor relationship is a dynamic.
God, this is fascinating. Like, Bradley, is this how you felt all along?
That's why I thought this would be interesting, because if you take any two Worm fans, they will have very different takes on different characters. Like you'll take one character and one person could be like, oh, this person is a total piece of shit, I hate them, they're evil. And then another person will be like, no, they're good. Like, no, they do good things. And like I feel like Wheeler and I have some of that to a much less extreme. Like, I might like this character, he might like this character that I don't like.
We kind of talked about it today with a
So I like the idea of kind of getting a third person in here, because
this is neat.
I'm sure like there are some characters that I'm confident all three of us are gonna like, because how could you not? And then I'm sure there's gonna be some characters that like Tyler likes better than we do, or he doesn't like as much as we do, because there's just some very polarizing characters in this story, because of some of the themes it deals with. So there's no arc of this story that I don't like. I enjoy all of it, but the very early arcs, like especially arc 1, I was like, okay, you know, it's okay, school story, girl gets bullied, she has powers, there you go. It wasn't until like I think arc 3 with the bank robbery that I was like, okay, I like this. I was like, this is good.
Let's to have a little bit of a guided discussion here for time. Tyler, could you give us first impressions on the Undersiders?
So I really liked their introduction with, okay, so Taylor gets bullied, she's gonna practice her superpowers, and honestly, like, I was like kind of blindsided by her powers at first a little bit. I guess I wasn't paying attention like to the audio reading a little bit, and I was like, oh, she has powers. That's cool. Like, she's had them this entire time. She doesn't have this introduction to him, and I was like, I really like that. I really like that we get to skip that part. Not gonna lie.
It's really, I think it's deliberately, like, very organically introduced in there.
So she's gonna go out and do some vigilante work, and I like how she wants to be a hero, but this girl been bullied. Yeah. Ain't no hero ever start off by being bullied, you know? And so she goes out and she's like, oh, she finds out this lung guy, and she's just like she's like, oh, I'm gonna challenge him, he won't kill me. I'm like, girl, you crazy. But like, the introduction of Lung as a character was great, because it shows how like ridiculous some people like powers can be, and how ridiculous some heroes and villains can be. Like, he has multiple powers, he can like set himself on fire and be perfectly fine, and it's like, I'm like, all right,
how is this guy not an A-lister? And then she's like, oh my god, wait, he sets himself on fire, he's a perfect counter for me.
Womp womp.
But the Undersiders showing up, I really liked their show up, because it's like, you can't really tell if they're heroes or villains until like right at the very end. and until she says like, "Oh, villains fighting villains. We don't want to be here when Arms Master shows up."
Oh yeah.
And then Arms Master shows up, and I'm like, you know what? The author does a great job at making this character a dick. Like from the first meeting, I'm like, I already don't like this guy.
Oh, this is so interesting because I was like, our master not so bad.
I already have bad feelings about Arms Master. Like I love the I like the introduction of Tinker technology at this part, because it's like, oh yeah, like Tinker technology, like people who have advanced access to like futuristic science, and they they don't, and it's like later on in the bank heist, it obviously shows why like not all of it's mass produced, and like why some of it wants to be kept by only the heroes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, that's really great. But Undersiders, I really like their introduction. They seem like nice people, and they seem like to just go with the flow sort of thing. They seemed very real. They seem very 2018, 2019 current United States real.
Yeah, I think one particular like moment I liked is when I think Armsmaster asked her to describe these villains to her, and she's like, she's kind of caught off guard. She's like, I don't know, they seemed like normal kids. They didn't really seem like bad guys.
Yeah, that's the other thing is like we get the introduction of these Undersiders, and she can tell they're all really young. I had to go back and reread the description of Hellhound's dogs actually, just to get like a visual description of them.
Yeah, they're pretty gnarly.
These things are wild. But it's interesting because like we have Taylor, and she runs every day, and like we have Gru, and like he's obviously like a built guy who works out and everything, but it's like we have all these five characters together, and it's like they don't they have powers, but they're not super right now. Like they don't do anything to physically augment their body, so they're all really weak physically, but all strong like together and combined and all that. And I really like that dynamic of it, because we don't really have anyone ridiculously like physical except for Bitch.
Yeah, you get to see that in the bank heist, which you got to. Where
Yeah.
a lot of worm comes down to how can we combine powers with each other and get out of situations.
Yeah, the bank heist was great because I like the interlude to with what is it, Victory Girl,
Glory
yeah.
Girl and Victoria,
Glory
Amy.
Hole, and Amy.
Yeah, Glory Hole.
Okay, so from this encounter, I can already tell like I really like the way Amy's character is portrayed. And obviously Glory Girl got some own beef going on with her own family. But Amy is like, she got this like I was rescued by these people sort of vibe, but I didn't choose it, so she's still kind of mad about it. But she's like, this is all I have, and I don't want to have nothing. So it's like she's grasping at straws, but she doesn't like the straws.
That's
a
cool way to look at it.
I like her character so far, and I can see her. I get some foreshadowing feeling about her character in the future, but in the bank heist, I love how it shows that she is not heroic. She is not really hero material at all. The kind of only reason I feel like she is a hero in general is just because of her power. And I really like that feeling because that girl is sadistic, and it shows that in the interlude when she messes with that guy's head.
Yeah, doesn't she like threaten to give him cancer or something?
Yeah, she threatens to give him like cancer. No, she threatens to give like Taylor cancer or a heart attack. All these effed up illnesses, and then like with the guy in the interlude, that with the skinhead Nazi guy, which I'm like, he probably deserved it, but still like. She was like, oh yeah, your dick doesn't work anymore. And like when they're walking away, Glory Girl was like, did you fix his, and she's like, oh, there was never any problem with that, but like fear and onset paranoia will make it not work anyway in the future.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I kind of see your point here, where it's like she like maybe she's only kind of being a hero because her power lends itself that way, and also I guess like her family is heroes, but she clearly has like this streak in her that can do worse things.
Yeah. The bank heist, she was really pissed off.
Ooh,
And
fun fact for Tyler also, um, the Glory Girl and Amy interlude used to be the first chapter of the story. Um, there was a
oh,
point in time where the story was going to be called Guts and Glory, and it was going to alternate between those two characters.
interesting.
There's a lot of that apparently, where a lot of characters were considered to be the main character at some point.
I'm glad it didn't. I do like Taylor as a character. I don't hate her. I obviously, as a male, don't resonate with her because I'm a male.
Cisgendered white male.
Exactly. But
Get out
I
of
really like her character and I like seeing her growth. I just got to the part, so I'm on arc 4 already.
Ooh.
And she goes back to school and she's being bullied again and she's like not about to have any of it anymore after that encounter with bitch. And she's 25,000 richer now and she's like, "Man, girl, fuck you. I got better shit to do."
Tyler, go ahead. Sorry.
I don't know. I'm just kind of curious. Like, my only thing I don't like about this character right now is like, I hope this gets to a point, and maybe it does with the like developed writing. But it's like, she obviously could fuck with these girls in so many ways, like with her powers. And I'm talking like Disney Channel original Wizards of Waverly Place dealing with peasant ways. You know, it's just
it's a dress for sure.
okay. Like I know she doesn't want to use her powers at school and like have an excuse because she wants to be a good guy, but like all like scaring girls with cockroaches would be so easy. Like that isn't a bad guy thing. That's just like get these girls away from me.
I think she talks about it in the very first chapter where specifically she's like, I could just totally go carry and just
carry on their asses.
Yeah, she does say that, and it's just yeah, I don't know, like it makes sense, and I like seeing her path like evolve towards working with the bad guys, and she keeps having these like oh man, I'm doing this to get the information, but it's like she doesn't hate these people. She like likes skipping school and going there. She enjoys being around these people.
yeah, it's like it's kind of the one thing making her happy right now, and also she got like $25,000 for doing it, which she was like internally bragging about. So it's like you're on a dangerous road, little lady.
I don't see her turning these people in. I really don't.
Yeah, to be honest, by arc 3, I was like, there's 0% chance. Like, that was my mindset at the time. I never believed her for a second there when I was reading through those arcs.
I think I kind of had the same mindset where it's like, at this point, she still honestly believes that she wants to turn these people in, but I think the reader kind of knows the real reason she's sticking with them.
Yeah. I like the interesting development in her powers, where she can control crustaceans and worms. Oh, it's the title. But I don't understand why worm is the title right now. Like, unless she gets like a trimmer beast or something, which would be cool. But
I will say I've come to appreciate the title worm over time.
that's cool. Like, I'm all right with that. I just hope like maybe she does get a trimmer beast. That would be cool. I'd like to see. I like seeing the sci-fi elements. I like how there's a parallel Earth that's like casually mentioned.
Yeah, Bradley's a big fan of how that's brought up, and I gotta say it's pretty cool.
There's a lot of world building in the small details of like them describing everyday things, and I really enjoy that. I think that's what's kept me on and what's keeping me going is a nice world has been built around these characters.
I'm gonna usher us into an endpoint so Joe doesn't fully die now that we've all turned on him.
I'm on my last breath.
I just want to say that, Tyler, you immediately enjoy Worm more than I did, and I'm at a point where I really like Worm now, so I think you're going to really like this story. Everything you were saying, like, you are catching all the right thematic things. Like, you, in a very short time, you brought up, like, all these things that are very keen, so I think you're really absorbing what Wild Bow is trying to tell with the story here.
I read a lot. I read a lot of teenage fiction novels.
Oh.
So
I-
Tyler knows his damaged teenage girls. All right.
I honestly, after reading like, I think I'm 200 pages into it. I really just want to go back to reading teenage fiction novels. Like,
There's
that's
a
where
very
it's at.
there's a charm to it, you know. Ain't
There
nothing
is.
wrong with that.
It's an art. It is
Yeah,
an art.
for sure.
I just read about widows being fucking depressed as shit, and that's for next week.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for that. I never thought we would see the day where we would get Tyler's impression on worms, but now I'm super excited for more.
Yeah. This I don't know if this will be a regular segment unless Tyler really wants it to be. In any case, I really kind of enjoyed this just because one, it's always fun to get someone else's impressions, and I think Worm is one of our more popular segments, so I'm sure there's people itching to hear it. And also, I liked it because Willer and I kind of have our own format, and it was fun just to hear Tyler's like impressions, which he kind of had those formatted really well, I think too. But I liked it.
I think it'll be fun at the speed Tyler's reading this. I think it'll be fun just getting his quick impressions like this. Maybe he'll probably catch up to me at some point if I don't pick up my pace. And
Catch
then
me next week on arcs 4 through 6.
Yo, let's do it. Good deal. That's what do we call this segment? We're gonna call this.
It's called "Take That You Worm." What is Tyler's called?
It's called "Take That You Worm" LF edition.
From Earth Ella.
Take that, you worm vigilantes.
I like that. That's a My Hero thing.
Light
Anyways.
novel